Hi, this is Victor Devon, and you're listening to We Burlesque, the podcast. I'm very excited to announce that in celebration of White Elephant Burlesque's 14th anniversary, that we are having a digital video show for you to download and watch, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And in conjunction with We Burlesque, the podcast, I will be live streaming it on October 2nd, and if you want to come in and join it, you're welcome to. All you got to do is go to weburlesque.com, click on the 14th anniversary poster, and buy a ticket. It's $20. You're going to see 15 performances, which, frankly, the value, just simply the value. And if you have the opportunity, you can watch it with me on that Friday, or if you can watch it on Saturday or Sunday, you are absolutely welcome to download it and watch it on your own time, or again and again and again, because, you know, we must do what we can on this internet world. It's going to be a great, great show. I have Regina Stargazer, Petra Fried, Holly Ween, Dick Jones, Lucky Charming, C.D. Edie, Broody Valentino, Lou Alfred Douglas, Falana Fox, Ellie Favola, Lilith Lore, Rocco Chanel, Esmeralda May, Jack Barrow, and me. It's going to be great. And you're also going to see a lot of familiar faces wishing some happy birthdays and anniversaries that are going to pop up throughout as well. It's great. It's a lot of fun. And I can't wait for you to see it. Please go to weburlesque.com and click on the poster, buy a $20 ticket, watch it anytime that weekend or thereafter, and enjoy the show. Thank you. This is Victor Devon, and you are listening to We Burlesque, the podcast. Today is, in fact, August 27th, 2020. I am calling in from Riverside, California, all the way through the miracle of fiber optics to New York City by way of Brisbane, Australia. I have the fabulous Satine S'Allumer. Hello.
Hello, hello, hello.
Now, you are a show person from several years of my knowing. You've done a couple White Elephant shows. We've done a couple shows of other people's together.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm excited to have an opportunity to get to know a little bit more about your origin story. So,
yes, I'm excited to tell you all. Yes, yes, yes.
multifaceted, because you design costumes,
Yeah.
you perform in burlesque and in drag, and I'm assuming you're a fabulous cook. So
I am a fabulous cook.
you know it.
I'm also just a greedy bitch, apparently. No, I get very bored, and many hands make light work, whereas for my brain, many projects makes less brain swirls, I guess, in theory.
It's good to fill the time. Time. How have you been handling the lack of work? Because I know you were in mid-show or mid-show planning.
We were literally at our opening weekend for the Bloody Brains in a Jukebox at Coney Island for our wonderful little season of March, and the Ides of March said, cancel the bitch. And the team is, they say that Bloody Brains will come back. We're not dead yet. And yeah, we're going to do that, and we're going to figure it out. But I'm doing as okay as I can under the circumstances. I'm making masks, even though I really didn't want to do that. I was like, I don't want to. But then now I make really pretty ones, and I'm happy with them. And my friends really like them, and they fit them, and they're safe. So I'm like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it for a bit longer. And I have like a couple of, like return clients for burlesque stuff that wanted to work on some bits and pieces for the next,
Have you done the virtual show thing?
I did it twice, and I prefer to watch them than be in them, to be honest with you. What was funny though, because I was performing at my a big drag fan's 21st birthday party, and my internet cut out right as I was introduced, and the producer, and I saw it on the replay, I managed to reconnect it like 20 seconds later, but he was like, it's just like in the movie Moulin Rouge, because I just cut off right at my introduction, and I was like, fuck. I was so upset. But I figured it out, and I did the thing, and I watched it on the replay, and I guess it was, it was as good as it could be under the circumstances. But I was like, why? The internet was fine for 3 hours, right until the second I needed it to just not crap itself. I think crapped the bed.
It was
So,
the ghost in the apartment. You realize that?
I mean, probably. It definitely had an influence in that situation. It was like, you know what? Britney Spears doesn't want you to sing the PMJ version of Toxic. She wants you to sing her version. And to that I say, free Britney Spears. That's all.
Exactly. Well, there's developments in that this week.
I know, Jamie taking
Yeah.
over.
I'm glad for her because it does seem like she's gigantically famous and
Yeah.
yet seems to have like no public identity. Like, I know we're in the middle of quarantine and people are staying home, but
Yeah.
it just feels watching the TikTok videos and things like that, it just reads
Yeah.
very hostage, and it's
Everything is very bizarre in this situation, and for a grown woman to not have autonomy is so upsetting.
yeah.
You know, it's just like one of those things where I want her, like, you know, Kesha to find her, you know, exodus from this shit show situation so she can be the, you know, badass bitch that she is. And I do appreciate, though, at least that Jamie has been very specific in saying that she refuses to speak on her sister's mental illness without her present because it's not her business. And that, especially as someone with mental illness, I fucking appreciate, because when you have bipolar, you really go through such, everyone's experience is very completely personal, but within that there's such a crazy, you know, roller coaster of wild, you know, hormones and emotions that you're feeling at any one time. You can black out and not remember weeks at a time. I don't know, it depends. But like, to be in the public eye and also have that situation going on is intense as it is. So for Jamie to really stick to the let's not talk about her while she's not in the room, you know, it's important.
Yeah. Well, let's go back.
Yes, back. You want to hear more about the origin story?
I'm curious because remind me. You were born in the States and went to Australia. You were born in Australia and came to the States.
I was born in the States and came back to Australia with my family, who returned to Australia,
Okay.
as they are Australians.
So where were you? Where are you from in the States?
So I was born in Narberth, which is a little baby borough outside of Philly in Pennsylvania.
How old were you when you went back to Australia?
2.
Yeah. So you don't recall a whole lot about?
There's a bunch of Super 8 film that my dad took that we would watch ad nauseum, which, you know, my brother running with his little kid casts on his legs. He had little pigeon feet. So he was running in his casts through like autumn leaves, and we went to the Bronx Zoo at one point, and it's like very sad pictures of an upset lion. Wow. And I'll never ever forget, and I'll never go to the Bronx Zoo for that reason. And yeah, just lots of footage of our first snowman that they made on a fire escape, and all these really cute little videos. So I know it through pictures and through videos, but I have no memory of Philadelphia whatsoever. So going back to Narberth, you know, recently to see it was for the first time, really.
Okay. But your parents are Australian?
Absolutely, yeah.
Sorry, my YouTube just went off.
No, you're fine.
Okay, so are they from Brizzy?
No, they're from Queensland, but they're from North Queensland rurally. So my mom is from Yeppoon, which is a little beach bush town near Rockhampton in Queensland, North area, and my dad is from Ayr, AYR, which is a farm, actually Brandon/Ayr. They had a sugarcane farm, which is in North Queensland as well. So they both moved down to Brisbane for college.
So they went back with you in tow, and you have siblings?
I have 2 older brothers. Yeah, so they met in Brisbane. So they already lived in Brisbane when they moved to Philly, and then moved back to Brisbane.
Gotcha. What was the reason they went back?
Because they didn't want to live in the States. He was just in Philly to do his PhD and then bounce back.
Oh, fair enough.
He decided to bring the wife and kids along because when else was he going to have the chance, I guess, to bring them to the States? And he was going to be gone for the 2 years. And, you know, I guess because my mom got accidentally pregnant with me, she kind of just traveled pregnant. And then they also told me to never, ever have a kid in America because it's very expensive. Because in Australia, they give you money to have kids.
Oh, I see.
So here it's like $20,000
minimum.
Yeah, or this is 30 years ago, Victor.
That's true.
1990. Wah, they some jazz hands, and they're like, I'm like, here's
So,
a torn bladder. You're welcome, Mom.
so what is your Australian homeland like?
It's hot. It's steamy. It's tropical. Sometimes it's very, there is in the suburb where my parents live, which is in the north part of Brisbane. It's kind of like Brisbane has a river, but it's also on the coast, the east coast. So we have beach, in many different directions towards the more eastern part. So I guess so. We lived kind of close to where the beaches are, but also in the middle of like a bush kind of area. So there are lots of walking tracks and very, very steep hills.
Okay.
Yeah, lots of bugs and birds and koalas and snakes and fun things.
Were you a performing arts kid?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I was always a drama kid. I've been performing since I was 5, doing Jane and the Dragon, or like, what was one of the other ones we did? Jack and the Beanstalk or something. And then all through high school into extra, like not so much community theater, like that kind of weird crux in between, kind of getting paid a tiny bit, but not being paid much. But being in a nice big fancy theater. But we still built all our own sets. So I did that kind of community, whatever, fuck it. It's still community theater for a couple of years.
I'm imagining like the Sydney Opera House in my head, only because that's my only real awareness of.
I mean, funnily enough, when I started doing burlesque in 2014, I ended up competing in the Miss Burlesque Australia pageant in Australian Capital Territory, which is like where our Parliament House equivalent of the White House is. And we performed in this big, gorgeous opera theater, and it was probably the biggest theater stage I've ever been on, other than the Orleans stage, helping stage manage at Beehoff. Yeah, I love big, big, big theaters, but it's very daunting to fill up that much space as a performer. Like, you can only twirl so far before you're like, I'm only 5'9", I need to like get on a dolly and scoot myself across the stage from one side to the other, and then I'll feel like I've covered the space effectively. So we got a scooter.
I like that sort of singularity of being like the one pinpoint on
and the bigness around you.
I love it because then just the architecture is part of the scene.
It's in situ, and there were specific works like the Dr. Horrible act that I did at the New Orleans Nerdlesque Festival a few years ago, 2016, I think was the first year. I had devised that whole act for a very large stage because it has smoke machines and my laser gun, and the laser requires the smoke machine to be visible. So, I was traveling around venues with my own smoke machine in Brisbane when I was doing it, because not many places have their own hazer, because they're just like, no, I guess so. It's expensive. So I just like bring my own around. People are like, can I borrow your hazer?
But not a death ray. No,
it's just a laser beam. I had to tell everyone, because in Australia you can't perform without public liability insurance, and every performer is at all. And you, if you're a producer, you have to have very specific other liability insurance to cover your venue in specific capacities and different coverage. But anyway, it's a whole.
They'd be terrified to find out. They'd be terrified to find out what's happening.
Right, and that's why I never started doing as much as I wanted to do sideshow when I was in Australia. The public liability for circus is so expensive, and fire stuff is really hard to do. And here, like, I can go to get certification in like 5 different places in Brooklyn. And eat my fiery little heart out, and then get more reflux for the rest of my life. And so
I don't know if I've ever seen you do sideshow. What is your?
Oh, I want medium?
To. You want to? But
the whole point of calling myself Satine S'Allumer, like to catch a light, because I wanted to be a fire performer, and I have fiery hair. The fiery dame who can't be tamed was my self-imposed tagline for the first 5 years of my performance. And now I'm like, oh, whatever the fuck. Somebody once called me the pinch hitter of burlesque, and I was like, I don't mind that. People call me in a pinch, I'm happy to fill in. So like, I don't mind that one, but like, I don't know. Headlines are weird. Like, it's also kind of like, especially if you write it yourself, it just feels a little convoluted.
I had one because I needed one because the host demanded it. Basically, they're like, that's my thing where I end everything by.
I have to have a catchphrase.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, Vision in White. Just call me the Vision in White. And
I love that for you.
yeah, well, yeah,
Vision and Clown White.
I just did that for a little while, and then Tigger called me the white-faced tornado when he was introducing me, and it was just an off-the-cuff remark. And when I got off
Yeah.
stage, I said, "Just so you know, it's done. That
Taking
is
that.
how it's done."
I love that.
So that became my tagline, and I always say "as bestowed" or as announced by Tigger, because
Yeah.
that's good. That's good pedigree. Where did you get the name Satine S'Allumer, and what the hell does it mean?
Yeah. So Satine, I'm gonna be honest. I love me a bit of Baz Luhrmann, mate.
Sure.
He does all right.
I think you're supposed to. I think it's in like on the
The
birth
rule.
certificate. You have to have like an agreement for
You have to
Australians. That yeah.
you have to differentiate between knives, and you must enjoy and celebrate Baz Luhrmann, except for the movie Australia, which sucks objectively. It's so long and terrible, but the fashion's great. Anyway, but I love the movie Moulin Rouge, and I love Nicole Kidman. And Satine's character, it's so tragic and beautiful, and she's a redhead, so I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, Satine, I love that. And my mom was a French major in college, and I was like, hey, dig out that French dictionary. We're going name shopping. And I wanted something that was that worked phonetically, kind of like more, like rolled off the tongue with Satine, but also had to do with being fiery or something with like red or like hot or like all of these different things. And I was also looking through the many, many, many different names and fun plays on words like Kitty L'Etoile and like all these different other French ones.
Right.
And I decided that I wanted to do a French name because I was like, oh, if I'm going to be a showgirl, I must have a French name. Especially, as somebody I've been an MC and I've worked in marketing for a long time before I started. I'd been performing in theater and stuff, but before I was in burlesque, I had been doing marketing and events and stuff. So as an MC, I was already MCing and stuff like that. So trying to introduce as a not French person with a French name who's kind of Australian and kind of American, but doesn't have any really much of either accent to go across the three. I tried to start as a gimmick of, speaking with a French accent and then
I get it. No, I did like a faux European hosting MC, yeah.
And like not in a Miss Vivian kind of way. And I took her hosting class and enjoyed it immensely. But I wanted to make a little gimmick that I was like going to like, oh, hello, good welcome, everyone, hi, hello, and all in French. And the kitten would run out and be like, you don't speak French. And then I would adjust, and I tried it. It bombed. It bombed so hard the first time I tried it. So I decided that English is going to be the best method for communication, considering I really don't speak much French, even though my mom tried to teach me.
I love also that you were inspired by Nicole Kidman, because she's another American who went to Australia, and
she's an expat too. Yeah.
Yeah, she's Hawaiian. She was born in Hawaii because that's where her parents were when they had her.
Yeah, it just, another thing of circumstance is kind of like, people be like, how did it happen that you're born in the States? I'm like, well, Dad was studying his PhD and jazz hands went, here I am.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'd started to do burlesque in 2014 after seeing my friend perform in a Bombshell Burlesque Academy showcase at the end of 2013. And she was like, I started doing burlesque for like self-confidence and for fun. I've met all these amazing women. I think you would really, really love it. You should come and see the show. And I was like, fuck yeah, of course I'm going to come and see the show. And I signed up for the next semester and then did my first solo, like maybe 6 months later. I was doing headliner stuff and then touring and stuff after that, festivals. It got really snowballed very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I think burlesque.
What was the style? If for someone who hasn't seen a Satine S'Allumer experience, what is the style and how has it changed over the years?
The Satine S'Allumer experience can only be described as whatever I fucking feel like on the day. No, not really. It was very much a classic with the comedy, very tongue-in-cheek, cheeky, charmy,
shiny.
Shiny, yes.
I remember some beads when I first met you.
And I have dance training too, so I'm, some stupid hand things. My hands are often doing staircases, and they often also look like a T-Rex sometimes, just because I'm tall. So yeah, often it's kind of a mixture between actually looking glamorous and looking like a seagull stuck in a net.
I
But
mean,
I love, but with a smile on my
that's the
face.
mood.
I'm
Really.
always having a great time when I'm performing.
How do
So
you prepare? Is there like a specific mindset you get into, or like a just a breathe in, breathe out sort of feeling?
well, I used to have a set of kind of like mirror stances with power stance. I would tell myself that I was allowed to be where I was, like, I'm worthy to be here taking up this space,
Mm.
and they asked me to be here. It's not a pity. It's not a pity
They
booking
didn't
or
have to
whatever.
include me. They want to include me.
Yeah, like, oh, they actually, they're paying me to be here. It's not like I'm called in last minute for some embarrassing reason or whatever the fuck. But it's kind of changed to, after talking to Dirty Martini and taking some classes with her, she explained this amazing preparation technique of walking through the performance space anywhere that you're actually going to be performing, feeling the energy, and kind of moving your energy through the space to kind of integrate the two. So you've laid down the foundation of your, not your turf so much, but less like shared space.
Mm-hmm.
So you can kind of, so I always love to do that now, like especially like not even stepping through an act, just like moving through a space and kind of getting the vibe,
Mm-hmm.
and just meditating a little bit beforehand so I don't vomit. But that's generally the vibe. I love performing so much, but the second, like right before, I get this like
Yeah.
incredible, horrible like throat gas that is just like you're gonna die and vomit everywhere. But I don't ever. It's just
Was that is that would you describe that as what not jitters? I would like stage fright. Is that like
stage fright. Just kind of like I care so much about what I put out there and the energy that I put out there that I just want everyone to have a good time. And so I think all of my emotions kind of just like build up into this ball, and then I just and like burst it like a paint bubble, but never an actual paint bubble, because I wouldn't do that. Because
please?
I'm not a messy performer. It's not my vibe.
What
So,
is
no,
what
I
is
think that
your preparation off stage? Do you make your own things? How do you decide when an act is ready? Are you music first?
the building process. So the building process for the Satine S'Allumer experience is very much depends what the inspiration is derived from, because I'm inspired by lots of different things. I'm inspired by fashion. I'm inspired by nature so much.
Mhm.
I'm inspired by fine art, especially being a fine art kid and having a fine art degree. Like I am so inspired by lots of different movements of art, especially like Art Nouveau and Art Deco, and then Russian constructivism, and then Dada, and surrealism, and all the different things, and the ideas of what is sometimes usually displayed as a 2D kind of idea. I
Mhm.
like to kind of incorporate as an ephemeral, concept. If I want to try and get into like the idea of the absurdism or Dada kind of
Mhm.
ideas, I might think, well, what could be a Dada act? Maybe it's me in a felt lizard costume dancing as a dinosaur, and then I pretend to kill another cast member. I don't know. It really depends what, if there is also uh, a theme I'm trying to adhere to. If there's like a show coming up that I want to create special one-off acts for, which is not usually my MO, because I like things to be able to be used again. So I generally always will try and create something that will have a multi-purpose use. It could work under more than one
Right.
kind of bracket,
Right.
but
Right.
it's usually costume and music at the same time. Maybe I'll find a song and then see a color in my mind, and then from there we'll think about embellishments or the way that the song can turn into a dance of fabric in that way, and the best parts to create the timeline of crescendo of removal of said parts.
Are you someone who constantly listens to the song beforehand, or are you more of a uh, you get the gist of it and then you improvise?
I like to listen to the song ad nauseum, so I have every breath memorized so that I can improvise to the best possibility. Just because it's much like lip syncing. Like if
Mm-hmm.
I can't lip sync a song that I'm dancing to, I haven't rehearsed enough in my mind. Because if you listen to it 10 times, part of it's going to stick, right? So, like,
Right.
if I listen to a song, I mean, I do this for musical theater prep. Like, if I want to learn a song, I need to sing it 10 times myself, and then it's burned in there forever. And in 10 years, you can be like, oh, what are the lyrics to, I don't know, pick a song from the Disney discography. And it's like, it's burned in there forever because it's been heard more than 10 times. So it's definitely a process of, rehearsing every kind of breath through the song. So even if I decide to change the format of the timeline of removal of whatever the moments that I've choreographed are, I can have the freedom to move that around because I know I can anticipate what the next beat or phrase is going to be.
Right, because what I guess you're sort of, it's choreography, but it's also preemptive choreography, so that
Yeah.
you can rely on just natural instinct in the moment.
We have to, because the spaces in New York are all so different from each other.
Yeah.
And the way that you can, if you have to walk through them, or if you're performing on a tiny go-go box, a la Nurse Betty, or if you're performing on a bar top, or, and I want to be able to adapt the bulk of the movement to whatever the space is to make it work for that context. So trying to leave some loose structure so that it can be like, oh, okay, cool. Well, maybe I'll so that by the time I'm walking through right before performing, I can say, okay, cool. So if I usually spin out and throw this forward because of the setup of the stage and there's going to be people behind or here, I'll spin out this way and throw it that way, or
right. Yeah, because even it's so funny to me, although I know it does make a difference for some performers and some acts. They're like, do you enter stage right or stage left? Oh, you can only enter from one. Well, I don't know how I'm going to get in. It's interesting how some you need to have entered a specific way.
Yeah.
Because the audience isn't allowed to see an element yet, or, it's always fun when it's around. That's always fun. Because then you're like, you get the first peek, everyone.
Yeah, there's nothing to hide.
So when you came to the States, did you go right to New York?
Yes, yeah. So I, in 2012, did a little 2-week reconnaissance mission with my best friend and came to New York and just went to the different boroughs and kind of felt it out because I'd never been to New York. I was like, I had decided by the time I was 25, I was going to move to New York, but I hadn't been to New York. So I had to go to New York to see, because basically in Australia, obviously in the arts, there's only a limited amount of jobs. There's an amazing arts scene, especially in Queensland. There's amazing arts, but there's minimal funding, right? And I wanted to be challenged. And once I'd graduated, I'd been working away and in the corporate life for a while and was very sick of that. And I wanted to see change. I could move interstate and leave behind what was in Queensland, or I could utilize my American citizenship.
Yeah.
And so I decided I may as well. This is the best time. If I'm going to fuck around, especially with 2 dogs, and my parents were like, well, they can stay here. Like, if you go and you come back in 6 months, your dogs are still going to be here. So, figure it out. Decide if you want to stay or not. So in 2012, I went on a little recon mission to try some things out and see how much I would have to realistically save up for to make my 5-year plan come true and move in 2015. Because buying a one-way ticket is obviously and they're not. It's expensive also.
That's the opening scene of a movie. In fact, I think that was the opening scene of the film Burlesque.
It's just me, but it was just me and my 2 suitcases, one of Muggle clothes, one of burlesque costumes. Why I thought I shoved a lot of Muggle clothes in that one suitcase, but I had so much that I had accumulated over 25 years of being in Australia.
Sure.
Well, still seems really crazy how much I've accumulated since then, to be honest, in terms of costumes I've made, costumes I've swapped or gotten from a swap, and what once had belonged to an artist or had been on a wig that was somebody's is now mine, who's now is somebody else's, or all, tiger pinup dresses, the traveling sisterhood, all these different things.
What do you love about New York? What keeps you here?
Oh, the people, the energy. Everyone has such an interesting story, and more often than not, I feel that people in New York have this, I don't know, this connectivity that you can just feel that, like, people aren't so quick to just throw out an idea. There's an openness here that I feel in the energy that, like,
Experimentalism.
yeah, like, you know, I see people talking to folks that, back home, Australian people maybe wouldn't have struck up a conversation with, homeless folks or protesters or whatever the situation is, and very milk toast kind of Trump Australia. But it's like, you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like New York has this very unified energy as well. That's like, people really do look out for each other. Like, the amount of times I've seen somebody's like drunk and barfing on a train, and someone will hand them a tissue or a plastic bag, or little things like that, which you'd think that you would take advantage of. And be like, oh, but everyone gives you a tissue when you're snotty. No, they don't. No, they fucking don't. Most people, if you don't have a tissue in Australia, if you're snotting all over your face, they'd be like, you fucking gross, clean yourself up. Like, no one's gonna give you a tissue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But in New York, people will either ignore you and let you cry on public transit by yourself, which is amazing. And literally being able to cry in public is really actually quite a life-changing thing that New York is quite special for, because people might check in and be like, you good? But they're not going to press it, which is amazing, because all of the emotions happen so intensely and so fast here that you just have to process them as they come. Or, like, get therapy later. I don't know. But crying on public transit isn't like a weird thing, unless you make it weird,
I guess. Do you think that you could live anywhere else? Is there somewhere else that you would like to either have an extended stay, or that someday Fiji? I don't know.
I mean, Fiji's beautiful. One of my best friends works in Fiji as a nurse, but it's, I don't have that much of a compulsion to live with that many bugs again, to be honest. The island life is very beautiful, but very bug filled. But I definitely want to go back. I want to go to Fiji. It sounds good. Now I just want thinking about Fiji and holidays. To answer your actual question, I'm not sure that at this stage of my life, I definitely feel like I've just started growing roots in New York, and I definitely wanted to stay here at least until my dogs have, moved on from this earthly plane. Because they're very much tying me here.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I don't feel any compulsion to leave. It kind of depends on, the state of things, if there's an alien invasion.
There's a lot of talk about people like leaving New York right now, or that New York is over or is never going to be the same. It's like
bullshit.
It's this strange.
So weird to me that people would just discount New York like that, especially after everything that New York has fucking been through as a city. Like, give the bitch a chance. Give the bitch, like, some credit in that New York as a city has always, got itself relative.
It's also like several million people. Where are they going to go? Like,
yeah, like.
The idea, I know it's hyperbole, but the idea of everyone's leaving. No, not everyone can leave.
And that's also very, like, my partner is a native New Yorker, and it's a big fuck you and middle finger to all of the native New Yorkers who their family is here, or their family have already passed, and it's just them. Like, this is their home for all intents and purposes. I'm here to rebuild that shit. I'm not going anywhere until this stuff is, like, good to go. Like, I don't want to leave like a half-built situation, you know what I mean? Especially also being a producer, like, this is definitely not the time to back away from getting your hands dirty and being involved if you want to be part of what's, at least being listening to what's happening, which has been a lot of what I'm doing in terms of not producing any content right now for shows or anything like that. This is what I've referred to as the great upheaval and rearrangement, which is a time for everyone to really think about everything that's happening in their business and their practices, and how we all communicate together, and how we can all unify and be better to one another, and all get paid better. Fuck, I hope. All XYZ.
Yeah.
Like, stripper problem, etc. Also, celebrities co-opting OnlyFans and all these types of things also, popping up.
What was it? Just today, Bella Thorne made like $1 million.
I mean, not to say that celebrities haven't been using OnlyFans for not sexy things, but really, you're gonna reach and just take the thing that.
It's because it's too hard to monetize Instagram. It's just another outlet. It's yeah.
All about the coin, all about the bottom line at the end of the day.
Bananarama?
Okay.
All right.
A band?
Yeah.
Yes. As a pastor's kid growing up in the 90s, there was a lot of mainstream entertainment that I was sheltered from.
Stephen Root, he does one of the voices.
Okay.
You know him from News Radio.
Do I?
You know him from Office Space.
Do I?
You know...
Most things, really. So, now that I am an independent and out queer 30-something, I'm finally asking my friends to teach me about all the stuff I missed out on. Wait, Raffi did Beatles covers?
Yes, he did.
My mind is blown.
He did Octopus's Garden. And,
Yeah, I remember Octopus's
Yeah,
Garden.
no.
I didn't know that wasn't a Raffi original until just now. The Re-Education of Hazel Tart. Subscribe now.
Kevin Costner. He was so foxy.
I know the name, I don't know the face. I cannot... What is Kevin Costner? Can you just show me a picture of Kevin Costner's face, please?
Think of the guy,
This is hurting
not
my head.
Cheech Marin, but think of the other guy in Tin Cup.
I've never seen that.
Do you like movies?
Any movies. Old movies, new movies,
Bad movies?
sad movies.
I'm Matt, aka Stormageddon.
And I'm Rachel Corky Shank.
And together we host Screen Snark, a movie podcast for movie lovers by movie lovers.
It's a podcast dedicated to the movies that are in our eyes, on our minds, and in our hearts.
Featuring guests of a wide selection of entertainment backgrounds, performers, writers, creatives.
So please join us for the casual cinema conversation every other Monday wherever you get your podcasts.
And follow us on Twitter at screen_snark, and we'll see you at the movies. All right, we're supposed to do that bit together.
That's cool.
Hey, this is Victor, and I want to give a special shout out to the Patreon supporters: Joyce, Andrea, Alex, Bo Bridges, Amy, Dollbody, Princess Chris, Ruthless Retribution, Drew, Kelly Blue, Stormageddon, and Rob. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. If you would like to be one of those fabulous people that are supporting the pod and all my adventures, please go to patreon.com/weburlesque. Thank you. So, at what point did you begin the drag element? Because you're also known as Allegra Spread.
Yes.
When did Allegra hit the scene?
Allegra Spread was born from their lizard egg in 2017 in March. I had a meeting with Crimson Kitty and told them that I had been thinking about toying with the idea of doing some femme drag, and they agreed to meet up with me for a coffee. And Crimson basically was like, yeah, cool. So I have a show in 2 weeks. It's Stonewall Inn. It's all trans and femme and AFAB performers. It's gonna be awesome. Do you want to do the show? And I was like, well, I mean, I have never done drag before. I mean, I'm a performer, whatever. And she's like, okay, I'm gonna go to the bathroom, and when I get back, you're gonna have a drag name. And so they go to the bathroom, and I'm like trying to figure out what my drag name is gonna be. And I'm like, this is important to me because branding, and what am I gonna fly into? Am I even gonna do this? Should I say yes? So they come back out of the bathroom, and it's like, what's your name gonna be? And I, in that 3 to 5 minutes, had created like a little family tree of when I was in university. We used to go out for Taco Tuesdays, and I fuck with the rich, stupid white men who would buy us beers, and I would never give them my legal name because why would I do that? So my friends would introduce themselves as their legal names, and I would always introduce myself as Allegra because it's Italian and it means joy, and it always reminded me of like
it's a very reliable
grandmother. In Australia we don't have the Allegra the antihistamine.
There
So
you go.
that is just an added thing. Allegra spelled like the antihistamine, but it's so I was like, oh, I wanted to be Allegra. Allegra has always been this alter ego that I've had. Allegra, people that I had actually also
musical.
asked. Yeah, I'd also asked people, did you ever meet an Allegra in person? What was she like? And I asked people what their Allegra encounters were like, and kind of based a persona on this
on this mystery Carmen type Allegra who
I did. I mean, so when I was in university and part of one of the when I was doing fine art, one of the subjects I took was one of a film course, and we had to create a short theatrical trailer. I should find it and send to you. Please don't share it around. It's very embarrassing. But it's called Wise Girl. And I basically made this femme gangster, mafioso situation.
I love it.
I was the the wise girl character, and I'm wearing this satin ballroom gown and a feather boa, and I have my little gun and pork pie, and one of my friends pretended to be shot down by me outside an actual police station, and they came out while we were filming, and we're kind of like, what the fuck are you doing? And I was like, I'm doing stuff for school, back off.
Come on.
I'm just using your wall, chill. And did the Mr. Movie Phone voiceover myself, which is generally anyway. So the character's name was Allegra Delfino.
Okay.
And she was my alter ego for this one trailer.
Bombshell.
So Allegra something. And then I was like, okay, it has to be a play on words because I love those names and I love dad joke. It's Allegra Benedict, Legs Benedict, Eggs Benedict, Allegra Spread. And I was like, Allegra Spread! Oh my god!
It could have very nearly been Allegra Benedict. I love that.
But Legs Benedict,
That's a great name.
Yeah, name. I'm sure there is a Legs Benedict out there somewhere. Allegra with legs for
there
short.
There should be.
Yeah. I should
look one up right now. Go ahead.
I should tell Legs Malone that she has to make herself an alter ego where she only makes brunch and strips and call it Legs Benedict. And then I also created Armand Allegra, arm and a leg, because I was like, well, I want to use the word Allegra in both, and Allegra Spread also in reverse means spread joy. So I wanted it. I was like, oh, yay! I guess it works in that aspect as well if you're grammatically not doing it properly. But and then I did my very first show with Crimson and a bunch of awesome queens at Stonewall, and shit escalated as it does. And then by the end of 2017, I finally started producing, which had been a long-term goal since I started doing burlesque in 2014. I was like, yeah, I definitely want to produce my own events. And then I've been producing since then at lots of different venues, and at Coney Island last year at the end of their Burlesque at the Beach season. And yeah, I've been able to perform at New Jersey Pride as Allegra, and
You had a viewing
Brooklyn
party?
Pride. We had RuPaul's Drag Race viewing parties.
Yeah.
Yes, never again. Lots of amazing casts and amazing shows, and lots of really fun patrons as well. Lots of, fun patron stories and things. I love performing in New York because we have the best audiences and such a mixed bag of human beings because of the kinds of people that move through New York and are traveling for
people
work.
who just happen to be there.
Yeah, people who are here, for whatever reason, whether it's a Tinder hookup or an Amazon symposium.
I have had shows where a Tinder meetup was happening.
Yeah.
It has absolutely been the case because I'm the kind of host who goes around and says, "Hello, I've never seen you before. How'd you hear about us?" I'm like, I just want that SEO reveal, and
tell me your demographic.
they're like, "Oh, I'm actually here on a date." And I'm like, that's terrific. I love it.
Fantastic.
That is terrific. I was like, I make no promises. Just so you know, I'm like, I would go through in my head, who do I have cast? That'll be very interesting. It'll be very interesting. What is drag for you like, and how does it, and including the femininity of your burlesque persona? Because as a non-binary individual, do you find it sort of a commentary, even a challenge at times to sort of present really femme and yet not go for the she, her pronouns?
Right. So, initially also as Satine and Allegra, until very recently, I still was using she, her pronouns. And it's only been a very recent change where I want to across the board be referred to as they, them, because it's what I align with. And there is no sense in misgendering myself for the purposes of entertainment. It kind of just really clicked in that way that I was like, oh yeah, I guess I don't have to she, her myself unnecessarily. And I could ask people to not do that also. Fantastic. I love that for me. But in terms of your question, so as Satine, I wanted to kind of, as a very generally kind of awkward and very excitable person, I wanted to hone that down into this very, glamazon, very mysterious, sexy, not like me as a regular person type creature. And then for Allegra, I wanted her to be a lot closer to my actual persona, being very brassy and sarcastic and a little bit rude, but you still love her. And, someone that you probably might regret having sex with, but probably would still tell your friends about. I don't know. It's just,
At the time, though. The time it'd be terrific.
Yeah, exactly. Not everybody gets a callback. It just is what it is. But yeah, so I wanted to align Allegra more with a comedic persona that allows me to be more of a human and make more mistakes and swear more and create a different kind of environment. Whereas if I was producing as Satine, now it's okay. So if I was producing as Satine and I was back in 2014, shit that I would have put together probably would have been very Catherine Delish / Dina Von Teese, but Kmart kind of. You know what I mean? I don't mean to not to discredit any of my work or my colleagues' work, but I was very much into the pinup scene. I did a Miss Pinup Australia competition. This is Lightyear. I feel like this is a totally different human being that was doing these things. So it would have been very classic and very pretty and very jazzy and very probably vaguely Chicago inspired. And nowadays it's more I want it to be more an experience, a rock concert. There's gonna be lasers. It's gonna be interactive. It's gonna be a sex dungeon probably, and somebody dressed as in a inflatable T-Rex costume on a stripper pole. I want it to be this whole huge kind of festival of experiences and variety and vaudeville, and that's I guess because I've just spent more time diving into learning more about my friends and all of their worlds.
Yeah.
And living so close to Coney Island and spending so much time at Coney Island obviously also contributed to that. I love the freak fam. Some good people down the street.
Yeah, I knew that you. I mean, this will come out significantly later than it happening, but you got the Mermaid Parade coming up, and that is sort of like
Saturday.
quintessential local experience as well. The word experience keeps coming up. Um, this is obviously not your first time. How long have you been doing the Mermaid Parade? Or going?
So I moved here in 2015. I think the first time I went was 2016. So
Okay,
this will
and you've gone
be.
ever since.
I missed two because I got pneumonia 2 summers in a row.
Oh dear.
It was, I mean, yeah, but with me not going, it just meant that I did Lucy Button's makeup for her because she was my roommate. So she was
Ah.
like, I know that you're too sick to go, but could you cover me in fish scale? Like, of course I can. And then I went to sleep.
Well, the reason I ask is because this year, obviously, it's. I think are they saying it's digital or virtual? They're using.
Yeah, it's called the Tailathon, so it's virtual and it's over Zoom. And I'm definitely going to be making an appearance on Saturday. I'm trying to figure out the logistics of the makeup look that I want to do with my partner because she's going to be my canvas also for the
Mhm.
project. So we'll do like a look, a little wave, a little hi, hey, hello from down here in Kensington. And yeah, it'll be cute.
Um, if things go better than they have been, and we actually get to leave the house for longer periods of time, and it's safe to do so, what are some of the things that you look forward to finally getting back to?
I am really excited about finally throwing myself a 30th birthday party because I never planned to make it to 30 years old. So that's really exciting. And I would love to compound that with like a 4-year sobriety anniversary party. So I guess I could do that next year and make it a 31 and something. But yeah, I don't know. I want to see my friends. I really just, the thing that I want to go back to is being able to, like, and I can't believe I'm saying this as a human cat, but like hug people and be hugged by people and feel their energy and like make an actual connection, which is not an elbow. I know it's weird. It's so because like even seeing a few friends and being able to do drop offs, like dropping off masks to
Yeah.
people. Birdie and Atticus came by because Atticus dropped off some claws, which I'm
Oh.
gonna use for the mermaid parade look on Saturday.
Oh. Very
Oh,
exciting.
honey, get ready. It's gonna
Are
be
you
very.
ready?
Oh, I'm so excited. And being able to see people but have to stay 12 feet apart from them just feels so weird and makes me so sad. But it's still good to see people from afar and yell at them from a distance rather than not at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and they got to meet the dog, so that was cute.
In terms of how things have been, I guess you came in from Australia after September 11th. So I guess that's really the only real comparable, like, New York change in bizarro world that affected like legit, not just legislation, but behavior and even just sort of the mood. Um, how are you? Do you still have people in Australia that you are tight with, or is your family still there?
No, my entire family is still in Australia.
Entirely still. How
Yeah.
is Australia handling the pandemic? Because that doesn't get reported on.
Yeah, so similar to New Zealand, they were pretty on top of it and they had a quick plan to lock down immediately. Only recently, in the last month or so, Melbourne has had an uptick of cases and is now back on lockdown because a bunch of people were traveling illegally and crossed state lines and did not declare they were sick and got a bunch of other people sick and just basically just dickheads ruining it for everyone. But they had a pretty short quarantine and lockdown period, but they're still feeling the ramifications in arts and they're only just starting to take classes in the same rooms and stuff together now, but lower capacity. And they've almost resumed back to, at least in Queensland, where my immediate family is. They've mostly resumed back to regular life, except for education is still remote. My dad works at a university, so he's lecturing remotely right now. And my mom isn't seeing her tutoring students, I guess, right now until she can see the kids again. But yeah, everyone's just kind of trying to do the same thing, which is just to keep as socially close but as physically distant as possible still. So they're still having to, they're not wearing masks. They don't have a mask mandate. I don't think they ever did. But in Melbourne, they have a mask mandate now, and because they're in the middle of a second lockdown. So yeah, they're not so worried about it up in Queensland. But if Melbourne can get their shit together and get everyone to comply and really do the right thing for like another couple weeks, they should be good. Like New Zealand has totally conquered the coronavirus. So clap. Good job, Prime Minister. She did an awesome job. But yeah, they're not as worried about it. But I mean, Australia also has much stricter traveling and like quarantine. Generally, their policies are very strict for humans, animals, anything traveling into an island. So
it just seems like it was also like a million years ago. But the wildfires were this year.
Yeah, they really only stopped burning around my birthday,
which was
April.
April.
Yeah, they burned all the way through March and stopped around April, May, maybe May. Beginning in May was the very last of the New South Wales fires, where it was really, really bad. And so what's interesting about that too is that they had made back burning illegal, the process obviously where they're burning off excess lands and sugarcane and whatever else debris that's around, because they stopped doing that like 5-8 years ago. And I didn't realize that they had banned it, because we would always smell fires at certain times of the year and be like, oh yeah, it's back burning, no worries. It'd be smoky for a couple of days and then it'd be done, because it was completely controlled. Because they stopped doing it for a number of years, almost a decade, all of the debris and the excess, the second that it started, you can't stop it. And I was like, well, what did we learn from this exercise?
Yeah.
Back burning. And the same thing fucked the Amazon, because they had stopped back burning too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's right now being used as leverage against the Californian
I was going to ask about what's happening
government.
there.
Yeah, I'm right now, as I get it, and I'm not looking for anybody to call in and correct me, but as I understand it, the wildfires happen every year because as a matter of course, but this is the earliest that they've ever been in this area for either ever or in a very long time. So we usually get our wildfire sort of sent over to us from the Santa Ana winds, and that usually happens in like October. Now
it's super dry.
It's super dry, and as I understand it, there's also like lightning issues that are like dry lightning that is also causing a lot of this. So it's not.
Yeah, a lot of storm activity we don't usually have, like hailstorms. We had our very first hailstorm in Brooklyn since I've lived here, like a few weeks ago, and the hail for the first time was like almost golf ball size. And in Queensland, they get to the fist size and they break your entire house and car apart. But this hailstorm that we currently had, or I think it's already just passed, it wasn't very as big as the last one. I think it didn't get as bad as
you're getting. Is it technically the tropical storm that's hitting?
They're saying that it's some offshoot from Laura, but I don't know if it's just like they had said that they were preparing for a severe, but we still have an hour left of their predicted time frame, so I'm not taking any guesses for barometer stuff. I'm like, it's storming outside, and that's all I know right now.
Yeah, rain is rain.
I'm glad it's raining. I'll say that. Rain is rain. It's been quite dry, so.
So to sort of put it into since all of these things that you do, from making costumes, from your drag persona, your burlesque persona, you also can sing. Like, as there's all these skill levels that you have. Is there anything, if someone were to say, and it wasn't terribly toxic, go on like America's Got Talent or something like that, what would be your first inclination to like share with the world their first?
Oh,
because you have so much. Like, for some of us, we only like can do like one thing. So we go out and we try our best and hope that that's good enough. When you can excel in so many things, just how difficult is that for you?
It's so very hard, Victor. You just don't understand my struggle.
That's a really good question. And I mean, I've embarrassed myself on national TV as a 12-year-old, and I'm very hesitant to embarrass myself by singing on national TV again, but perhaps I won't sing in a chipmunk voice and it will be fine.
Maybe,
yeah.
but maybe you should, as like a tribute to your younger self.
If I could talk to little baby me before going on Download, the game show for fucking nerds that I happen to be shooting in my town as a teen, I would say, you're going to be bullied mercilessly, but it's going to be fine.
It's going to be great.
Because no one's going to see that after the year 2001, because they'll delete it from the archives. I went to find it like a week ago, and this is how I know this. Because I was telling the story to my partner about being morbidly fucking embarrassed by singing a chipmunk song on national television as my talent. So, yeah, I guess I would sing, Victor. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. It does.
I should absolutely rehash that moment as a bit or as like
it's like really it seems like the perfect like
of something
opening act of a one-person show. Like it seems like
Tina Till Now needs this in the cabaret.
Or the encore. Like this is my way of making peace with the old ways. Like I think that's...
and this is my and that's all there is.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I thank you for spending some time with me and sharing with me how you got to where we are, which is stuck in an apartment and unable to perform.
Yes, performing for the riveting comments of woohoo on Zoom.
Well, yes. Like at least you can get like if you do it on Instagram, you can see like the emojis go up. That's good at least. I like that. You can see like the hearts and the.
I love the comments. I think it's super cute. It's so
really hard to like undo a course while squinting at the screen saying, "Oh, take it off." Oh yeah, I'm getting there.
Wait, I just go scroll back up. Stop talking.
Like, what? Oh, okay. Keep up with all your skill sets. Don't get rusty on me now, Satine.
I'll try. And my monocle and my masks, hand sewing in the dark, just for you.
And be safe and have a fabulous time at the Virtual Mermaid Parade, and whatever else ends up coming up. I have a feeling a lot of things are going to be virtual for the foreseeable future.
Yeah,
as terrifying as that has the opportunity to be, we'll see how it goes.
Time to upskill, Victor. We got this.
We'll do it great. And I'm so excited to say that you're going to be part of my new offshoot series, which is the Weebulesque Burlesque Ghost Stories. So
yes,
the audience at home, we wrapped that earlier, so I'm excited to start that and include you in that. So thank you for you can add that to your what I did in quarantine resume. Like you
learn about my creepy life.
Productivity. See,
told people on the internet about my creepy life.
Well, you be good, you be well, and I will talk to you soon and keep exchanging likes on all the social medias.
Yes.
Be safe. Bye. Mwah.
Bye.
Thank you. Have a good night, Satine.
You too. Bye, love.
PonyPod, a traveling performers podcast. If you like hearing from traveling performers, please subscribe and leave 5 stars wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm your host, Miss Mary Jane Green, the Treasure Tent Teaser. You can find me on the main social media platforms or by joining my mailing list at missmaryjanegreen.com. In the immortal words of Jack Kerouac, nothing behind me, everything ahead of me, as is ever so on the road.
Weebulesque. Burlesque Ghost Stories, available Wednesdays all throughout September and October 2020. Find it on the We Burlesque main feed of your platform of choice. Enjoy!